Let us move to the next speaker of the day, Mr. Edmund Yang. Mr. Edmund Yang is President and CEO Cordelia Link from Philippines, and he is going to touch upon a detailed topic where he'll tell us about how the mitigation of sufferings caused by side effects of drug. We are taking a different angle here that because drugs cause side effects, so how pharma companies can pitch in by mitigating the sufferings for the patients. He is the Managing Director and Lead Consultant at FCY Marketing and Communication, and President at Cordelia Inc., responsible for generating business for the company by organizing lead generating programs and activities, continuously building a robust database, following up leads, scheduling, and hosting or participating in conference calls with potential or existing foreign clients, and sponsor companies, and finally preparing, negotiating deals, and closing contracts. He is an avid reader and actively involved in clinical research projects. He has served many multinationals, including Sanofi, Philippines, Roche, and Wendy's Pharmaceuticals. We welcome you, Mr. Edmund, and we are looking forward to listen from you about the topic.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of PharmaState for inviting me to this summit. It's indeed a pleasure and an honor to provide some insights into what is going on in the Philippines as far as patient centricity topic is concerned. My topic is how the mitigation of sufferings caused by side effects of drugs proved to be a pivotal point for patient-centric marketing by pharma. Okay, I just got this definition, so just as an introduction, patient centricity is an integrated measures for listening, which Sunil I think mentioned, listening to and partnering with patients, and placing patient well-being at the core of all initiatives. And then, of course, the side effects as the other side of my topic would be are harmful and unwanted effects of a drug, chemical, or procedure that occurs along with the desired effect, a result of an action not expected or intended. Okay, a little background about the Philippine market, because I don't know if this is something that's also common to some countries, but I'm sure this is in some, it's not the same. The Philippine pharma market is an open market. That means companies can register with the local FDA, set up their companies, and then it's basically based on a free market. Free market forces are the ones that drive the market. It's expected to be about close to 200 billion in pesos. I don't know how much is that in dollars by 2 to 3 years from now. And the pharma market is predominantly a prescription market. You will see that the prescription market is made up of basically two components. A smaller component would be the regulated side, the prescription side, which regulated means these are drugs classified under dangerous drugs. And to have and to prescribe or to acquire the product would need a special prescription pad, which is an S2, which you buy from the government for you to prescribe the product. This includes products that are barbiturates, for example, opioids, psychiatric products, and so on. The other one would be the purely prescription-only products, which takes a big portion of the market, together with where the doctors are basically are very much involved in. And on the other spectrum would be the over-the-counter. These are products that have over time been considered as to have a high safety profile, and therefore they can be purchased over the counter. Examples would be some antitussives, some laxatives, and of course the other one would be the food supplements. This includes the vitamins, the herbal medicines, and so on. Consumers, basically, those that are being classified also as health products. So the reason why I pointed this out is because when we take a look at the spectrum of the different markets, starting from the prescription, it is the prescription and the regulated side or group of products that would normally have side effects that are from mild, moderate, and even to severe. This could be acute or chronic medical conditions. And side effects in these cases are obviously a concern for doctors, because they are the ones who will deal with the patients when it comes to side effects of the drugs. In some cases, this group of products will normally encounter a lot of regulatory monitoring, especially new products. If you're familiar, in the Philippines, MSD launched Vioxx at the time, and it was a successful product as an example, but eventually was pulled out of the market because of the reported cases of heart conditions, severe heart conditions. So definitely side effects is something that a doctor will have to deal with in various ways, and patients will have to also contend with while they take the medicines. In acute cases, these conditions may be tolerated because in cases where the disease takes only a few days or so, let's say, for example, antihistaminics, as soon as the condition improves, then even the side effects of, let's say drowsiness can be tolerated. But in certain cases where you have chronic cases like heart disease and so on, arrhythmia, which could provide or which could lead to cumulative effects or eventually into unwanted side effects, then the doctor will have to deal more closely with the patients on a regular basis. Okay, and again, actually, when I look at the topic of patient centricity, it is something that's from the tradition of the Philippine way of marketing products. It has been neglected somehow. If we look back at 50 years before, when I was still a medical representative with Roche, the way it's being done, and I suppose in some countries as well, the medical representatives visit the doctors, and the doctors sees the patient, prescribes a medication, then the patient goes to the pharmacy dispenses or gives the drug, and the cycle is done, is finished. Information at the time are basically centered on the doctors. That means information about the drug okay, aside from the pharmacies, of course, are reposited or in the hands of the doctor. So if a doctor prescribes a drug and it was prescribed then often as a brand, the drugstore wouldn't have any choice but to give the drug as a branded drug. There is no substitution. It cannot substitute. And in fact, the prescriptions before, it's indicated below no substitution. That's around before the 70s, but towards the end of 80s, there has been a change because of the generics law that was passed, which encourages patients to make an active choice of the drugs that they would purchase. For example, if a doctor would prescribe a generic drug to a patient, the patient goes to a drugstore and together with the pharmacist, a patient can ask for alternative drugs for as long as it's the same generic composition and generic strength. Then the patient can choose whichever brand he or she would like to buy. So there has already been a trend towards empowering patients to choose the medication and having the patient participate actively in the dispensation of the drug and the choice of the drug that he or she would like to take. And therefore, from the perspective of the doctors and from the perspective of the pharmaceutical company, it doesn't guarantee that because the doctor prescribes your drug with a brand name underneath, that it will be bought as it is. So there could be substitution. And therefore, because of this change in the way drugs are purchased, certain companies, particularly two major local companies, embarked in organizing a company based around the idea that the company's name is the brand name. I'm talking about Pharex. Pharex is a company that was set up with all the generic equivalents of different prescription products, and it turned out to be a successful one. So the last time before they were bought, they were at about 5 billion annual sales. Followed by United Laboratories after that, because of that success. United Laboratories, the biggest local company in the Philippines, takes about 20 to 22% of the market share. Introduced their own version of a branded company, generic company, and that is RightMed. Even with Pharex as an example, even when they were promoting Pharex as a brand, as a company brand, they were still promoting to doctors. Then RightMed followed with the same product range, and they started by promoting also to doctors. But after about within 3 to 4 years, they shifted gear and they abolished their medical representatives, and then they went directly in promoting their company brand direct to the consumers, which tells me that now they are not talking only to doctors, but in fact they are talking to or addressing their marketing communication to patients or potential patients. It was successful at the time, and even now, it was successful that eventually Forex had lost some market shares, and eventually they were bought by United Laboratories, the company that owns RightMed. So just to give some uh, analysis perhaps on what has transpired, the idea of communicating directly to patient is now not necessarily perhaps as mature as it is. It's still evolving, and some other companies, local companies, are still working on the product focused idea. That means they focus on the product more than that of the patients. Although I'm saying that what I'm saying is that the product focused way of marketing or communicating your products will still remain because that is essential to the understanding or to the knowledge that is needed for the doctors to prescribe the products. At that time, when I was still a medical rep, of course, it was a long time ago, and there are no cell phone, there are no internet, there's basically very little information that one can get from different sources. But for now, for example, the way with the technology, the internet, and all these things that's happening, we have very good access. Common people are having access to a lot of information, and in fact, including some medical information that are otherwise not available to people then at the time. So patients right now are becoming more active in discussing issues, medical issues, their concerns with the doctors. And in some respect, in some way, that has caused some dismay or even maybe frustration from doctors because unfortunately, information that are coming out could come from different sources. So whether that is valid, whether that's legitimate, or that is purely anecdotal, or even through social media with their neighbors and friends, is something else. But the accessibility to information has created an avenue for the average person to get to know about more about medical conditions, especially if it concerns them. So there's a tendency to do a little research on what's the problem, and then of course they discuss this with the doctors. Going back to side effects, to me, side effects is a function, or is a result, or the characteristics or quality of our pharmacological quality of the drug, the molecule itself. So there is not much I think we can do in the area of addressing the side effects, because these side effects are even well known and even indicated in product inserts, and in some respect are communicated to the patients. So, but then patients would have different reaction to the drug. Some patient can tolerate the drug. For example, they say that aspirin, of course, can cause gastric irritation, but to some, the gastric irritation is not observed. But to some, it's observed, and therefore, doctors will have to just deal with it. So, from the marketing perspective, there's not much in the area of what we can do, because the drug is the drug, it's a compound, it's the molecule. However, the communication aspect must be fully observed. Now, I talk about the side effects, but I would like also to talk. If you want a complete perspective, you also have to look at the effects of the disease and how, for example, a pharmaceutical company can ameliorate the condition, the side effects that the patient is experiencing. So I place two sides here, side by side, which I mentioned. There are the effects of the drug, and also there is the effect of the disease. In managing the side effects, what can we do? The doctors must be fully informed of the possible side effects. Okay, doctors can forewarn or inform the patient. If something is experienced, the doctor can suggest to titrate the dosage. Okay, instead of giving 3 times a day, maybe you can give twice a day, or the strength, instead of giving 500 milligrams, let's do 250 milligrams. And adjust the frequency of medication or the time of medication. For example, many doctors who give antihistaminic for allergy and so on suggest a once a day dose just before going to sleep. In that case, if they feel anything like drowsiness, for example, it wouldn't be a big problem because they're going to sleep anyway. Some would add drugs to control the side effects. If there is gastric irritation, hyperacidity perhaps, maybe an antacid can also be provided. And then, of course, there's a change of the drug, which if you were the marketing guy, you would rather that the first 5 would be 5 ways of managing side effects would be used, because otherwise, it would be another drug. And then, because it's a function of the pharmacological property of the drug, there should be a continued product improvement, which from the side of the marketing person, they can only provide feedback, and then the production, the laboratories can work on improving the characteristic of the drug, hopefully find a solution to improve, or reformulation to improve the effect, the side effects that goes with the drug. On the other hand, which I would like, I've been teaching product management, marketing management for almost more than 10 years, maybe even 15 years, about 100 or close to 1,000 product managers. It's something that I observed is that many of the product managers that make a presentation, they basically present what is happening in the market. It's basically what sales, market share, growth, decline, and so on. As far as I'm concerned, that's good information. That's good information, but that is something that is of the past. That is a scoreboard. I keep on telling them, you're reporting a scoreboard, like in a basketball game. Okay, what's the score? How many rebounds? How many things like that? But what I'm encouraging them to do is to provide more insights into what's going on in the mind of a doctor, and goes on with because now it's not only the doctor that you'll have to deal with, it's also pharmacists, the the patients, of course, and all the caretakers and all the caretakers of the patients, close relatives, or friends even. So aside from uh, minimizing or addressing the side effects caused by the drug, it would help a marketing person to also address what's making the patient uncomfortable because of the disease. What information can you give? Can we make the patient more comfortable? Okay. How can we make his life easier, for example? Okay. Uh, how can we provide access to basic needs and prescription? For example, patients who cannot go out, can they buy medicines through orders? Yes, they can now. Uh, Help the caretakers and so on. So I think from my uh, which I advocate rather would be to look at the now patient, because I think Sunil mentioned about this is the patient are the ones that are mostly overlooked when it comes to pharma. Pharma looking in because they think they know everything. So that's I would agree. So, but then uh, actually, thing about patient centricity and looking at patient is nothing new with marketing, because the same thing you'll do. What are their needs and wants? Understanding, because right now patients are at the forefront. Okay, at the forefront, and they will be there, be actively engaged. So we might as well uh, help them out. Now, hold on. I think. Okay. Well, there are a lot of things that one can do, but a direct impact would be if a company could continue the product development and so on and so forth here. Useful practical information, look for added value programs beyond the product, allow patient and stakeholders participation, focus on disease management, maximize use of technology, review, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure the creative groups in marketing would have other ways of doing this. And then finally, because why is it so important that we also have to take a look at this aspect? Because not only for the indications by which drugs are sold, if the complete um understanding of the needs and wants of the patients and all the stakeholders, in fact, it would reflect on the company's commitment. And if that is the case, it creates a reputation and image, which I think is important for the company. And most importantly, as far as I'm concerned, would be it enhances the positioning of the product and the company. What you stand for as a company, as far as the doctors, patients, even the pharmacists are concerned, as a product, if you're particular about a product, or as a company. And of course, your targeting would be uh, can be cost effective. So I think this is basically why it is important to address all the issues, not only how effective your drugs are, but of course also uh, the side effects that could hamper, patronage or of your product and so on. I think that's basically what I would like to say for now. Unless you have other questions or anything that I could.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Edmund. You gave a list of points where you touched upon where pharma can chip in with the mitigation of side effects. If the pharma can help in with the care providers, and if they can help patient feel better even while he is experiencing side effects, that would be a very good uh, initiative by a pharma company. So, yeah. Okay. Do we have questions? This is basically an opportunity area where pharma can have a lot of innovation and innovative points that they can chip in with. As earlier speakers also spoke about, you have to just think about where, as a patient, you think about if you are taking a drug and you are suffering from side effects, what you would love at that particular moment. What exactly will help you while you are undergoing that particular situation. Mr. Manoj is asking, what are your suggestions for companies to highlight the product side effects to patients? How should they present these side effects?
Well, I think a direct answer to that would be to just mention we do detailing, for example. And when we do detailing, the traditional ways that you say this is a product, milligrams, and so on, you talk about the side effects, and that's part of the. I think that's part of the detailing process that should not be left out, uh, because doctors must be informed uh, of what they could probably encounter patients who are sensitive to the drug, maybe. So it's basically giving out the information. Now, the other thing is when you talk to the patient, it has to be in a different way, I guess. That's my suggestion, without uh, going into usurping what is supposed to be the territory of of a doctor, because you cannot you cannot override whatever, or even suggest that you reduce doses and things like that. Normally, when I detail, and if I encounter patients, I tell them that this is the list that could possibly happen, but you have to talk to your doctors. There's a limit at what you can tell the patients, but as I said, a lot of information are available, even from the companies that list down all the side effects. If the patient themselves sees this and you see a side effect, oh my gosh, I could get a heart attack or something. How do you handle that? Okay.
Right. Uh, okay, we have a question from a student. Any words for the students who are going to join pharma this year or in coming 2 years? What future aspects will pharma provide for young ones? Any thoughts about it, Mr. Admin? A student is asking you what new he can expect in coming times.
Well, let me. A lot of things are happening. Like even now, the COVID thing is something that nobody really expected that would disrupt somehow. But it's not. I think it's not those things that come in between. Uh, there are, of course, practices that are, I think, uh, now what I'm saying is solid. You know, like the thing is, you still have to keep informing your doctors. I'm saying that product detailing will remain, because it's your obligation as a pharma company to talk about the drug. The thing about this, however, for example, if you talk about old products, sometimes doctors don't want to talk about it anymore because I know more of it than you do. You're young, you see. But these are basic that uh, uh, the doctors will still rely on the medical representative and the pharma company to provide them with the information, and they should be ready to provide those information. Now, the thing about what you expect is that you talk to the doctors now as a medical rep. If you're coming in as a medical rep, you talk to the pharmacy, you handle with them. But to the patient, it's rather you have to be careful with dealing with the patient because uh, that is you have to be careful in providing information because they might have a misunderstanding of what you're telling them. But from the perspective of a marketing, a product manager or a marketing manager, this is something that can be addressed by programs. I think I saw educational programs, and in fact, I would propose getting involved in patient support groups. Okay, like Diabetes Society of patients and so on. What do you expect? You expect that pharmaceutical will still grow as a
Sure.
as a as a company,
Sure.
as an industry.
Industry, right, right. Sunil sir, you
Dr.
raised hand.
Swati, can I butt in for a minute?
Yeah,
I
yes, sir.
have
Just
there's
a
a
second,
very
sir.
interesting question from Nishchal Joshi, and he has remarked that regarding side effects, can medical reps and brand managers work collaboratively with the SCPs who ultimately guide the patient? And I think a beautiful question, Nishchal, because now I feel patient centricity is growing into the young minds of our students. Thank you,
Yeah.
Nishchal, for this very, very, very interesting question. And my hats off to you, my salutes to you.
Right. So, Sunil sir, you wanted to say something, I think. You raised a hand.
Yeah, I wanted to answer to that question that you
Oh, okay.
that student posed about what is the opportunities for pharma. I don't know whether the student is born before 2000 or after 2000, but I believe that COVID is going to do for pharma. And when I say pharma, it's not core pharma only, but also the Nutra and other segments, mean the life sciences segments, is going to do for the COVID is going to do for life sciences what Y2K did for the IT industry.
Oh,
The IT industry took off because of the Y2K problem, if you remember. So at that time, because of that, the opportunities that came and the boom that was there, I think COVID is going to do that, especially for the pharma industry in India. It's a great opportunity going forward. I think people are becoming more conscious. They want to be more healthy. If you see the boom in lifestyle things like yoga and other
yes.
activities, in having good food, eating the right thing. The whole segment has taken, and people are going to become more conscious. I think, and the more it what we call continues, and I think we're in for a few more months. It will get deep down into our psyche that we need to be more healthy. So I think this is really going to make a big change.
So, students, those who are listening, it is going to be a wonderful time to be in here. Just be with the right skills
Hmm.
and be with the right mindset. These are the two things that you will need. Yeah, thank you,
More
Mr. Edmund.
importantly, more importantly, be with PharmaState Academy.
Right, they are, sir, they are. And thank you, Mr. Edmund, for a wonderful talk on
Thank you.
this topic.